Okay. Thanks for bringing the Zionist and the seltzer. Covered GR. Okay, let's go for it. Everybody ready? I don't think I'm ready, actually. I think I did too much here. I don't know. Okay. We have a couple more copies if anyone else comes and needs a copy. Okay. Well, last week's shir was such a big success, learning some Choshen Mishpat, learning some of the section of Shulchan Aruch that we don't usually learn about civil law and monetary law and the laws of loans. And last week we spoke about what if a person stipulates in their loan documents that they're going to pay back after Pesach. So we're going to do more Choshen Mishpat. I didn't plan it that way. It kind of just worked out that way. And it's connected to the Parsha. It's connected to the Parsha. And I was a little maybe overzealous in some of the sources. Could be we're going to skip some of the sources as the time would be. Somehow, at some point, some of the chairs got taken upstairs. I'm not sure how. We'll have to bring a few more chairs back down. So we may skip some of the sources. We do have a couple first-time guests. We have a couple repeat guests, including some of the first-time guests that came last week. Liked it so much that they're back this week in the source sheets. We're going to get to it. I'm willing. And the Rambam, and there's a lot. It's a very. The more I start looking into it, there's just a whole lot going on that, whatever, we'll do the best we can. Mitzvos Hashem. So, by way of introduction, there are, this week, of course, is a double parsha, Achrei and Kedoshim. In Kedoshim alone, there are 51 mitzvahs. That's a lot. 51 mitzvahs in this parsha of Kedoshim alone. So let's look at two psukim. In your business dealings, you must not commit a perversion of justice. Oval mishpat, a perversion of mishpat. What is that talking about? With regard to measures of length and area, weight, or it's probably supposed to say of liquid or dry volume. It's probably a typo. Rather, the next pasuk continues. That's in chapter 19, verse 36 now. You should have accurate scales, accurate weights. You must have accurate scales, accurate weights, an accurate container holding an ephah, which apparently, according to those who researched it, is 24.768 liters or 7.54 gallons, for those of you who live outside of the United States, for measuring dry volume. And a v'hin tzedek lachem, an accurate container containing a hin, which is 4.128 liters, or just about a gallon. That's how we pay for our gas, right? It goes by the gallon. Other countries, it's by the liter. Looks cheaper when you get to the gas pump in Israel. Looks cheaper when you realize that's actually 4 times the price. And that's for measuring liquid volumes. And then the pasuk includes, Ani Hashem Elokeichem asher tzeis yeschem me'eretz Mitzrayim. I am God, your God, who brought you out of Egypt. That is the mitzvah. That is the mitzvah not to deceive. Oh, by the way, part of the shir also was because we have this new Sefer HaChinuch donated by our friend Tzvi and the Minchas Chinuch. So we're gonna get to all of that a little bit. So let's just take a look before we go into it a little bit. But the Sefer HaChinuch, here they say it in English better than I would. This is the mitzvah. In the Chinuch, it's mitzvah 259, and we're going to get to that a bit later. The obligation to maintain accurate weights and measures. Right? Is that what we're doing? The obligation to maintain accurate weights and measures. That's what we're going to talk about. So let's begin, as we always love to do, in the Rambam. Hilchos Geneva, chapter 7, the end of chapter 7, the last halacha in chapter 7. Says the Rambam, Kasha oinshan shel midas yosem oinshan shel arayos. Look at that. The punishment for the person who uses false measures, that's false weights, that's what our pasuk is talking about. And if you have, of course, now it doesn't sound so relevant, but really any supermarket would have to make sure when you weigh your apples or whatever you buy by the weight, to make sure that I think for most of us, we're not, unless you're a store owner, I guess, and you're selling things by weight. But the punishment for the person who uses false measures, false weights, is greater than the punishment for licentious sexual behavior. Whoa, that's surprising. I mean, come on, one is like, you used a little bit of one stone instead of two stones, a little bit of a difference, but immoral behavior like that, how could that be? Says the Rambam, Shezeh beinoi levein amokim, v'zeh beinoi levein chaveiroi. Very straightforward. For this, that is, right? For this is a sin between a person and his colleague, that is using false measures, false ways, is between one person, God forbid, cheats another person. V'zeh, the other one, that is illicit relations, licentious sexual behavior. This is a sin between a person and Hashem. Why? Because an avera between man and Hashem, all you need to do is do tshuva.
But adultery is like also between man and man.
Right, so he doesn't stipulate adultery.
Oh.
Doesn't stipulate adultery.
Adultery is self.
He just says in general, the arayos, licentious sexual behavior. Even though another person is involved, it's not a sin against that person per se. It's a sin. Why is it a sin? Because Hashem said so. Whereas using inappropriate weights is Reuven is cheating Shimon. So directly affecting it's so that's why it's considered a sin between Ben Adam Lamokim, whereas licentious behavior is considered a sin between Ben Adam. I'm sorry, other way, Ben Adam Lamokim, right? Ben Adam Lamokim, what do you have to do for tshuva? Just do tshuva. If you're sincere, Hashem forgives you. But if you sin against another person, if you wrong, if you steal them, if you offend them, whatever, lashon hara, whatever a person may say, you have to actually go and get forgiveness from that person, which is much more difficult.
To pay them back.
Whether paying them back, if it's money involved, or whether it's asking them straightforward, hey, I said something offensive to you, will you forgive me? Whatever it involves the other person somehow to fix the wrong, which, as you mentioned, would be returning the stolen object or the money, etc. Then the Rambam continues, anyone who denies this mitzvah of midos, of using just measures, is considered as if he denies the exodus from Egypt. We're going to see later a little bit why it says it's like he denies the exodus, meaning he doesn't deny the exodus. It's like he denies the exodus. We'll see that later. Which is the first of Hashem's commandments, meaning that what's the first of the 10 commandments? I am the Lord your God. I took you out of Egypt. So the very first commandment is connected to Yetzias Mitzrayim, is connected to the Exodus. So if a person, says the Rambam, denies the mitzvah of just measures, it's considered as if he denied the Exodus from Egypt. And on the other hand, anyone who accepts the mitzvah of using just measures, he is acknowledging the exodus from Egypt, which is the garma, means it's the cause that brought about all of Hashem's mitzvahs. Now, there's many diyukim in this Rambam. We're not going to get to all of it. I don't think we're even going to try to get to all of it, but we're going to at least touch upon it a little bit. I'm going to leave this handy dandy Osnaim Hebrew English Rambam open just in case. That's the Rambam. Good? Okay. Let's take a look. Source number 3, the Tur. Choshen Mishpat. The Tur was Yaakov ben Osher, known as the Balaturim, circa 1269 to 1340 in Germany. His father was the Rosh, the Osher ben Yechiel, famous Rosh, one of the most important Rishonim. Not that we rank people in terms of importance, but that was his father. And the Tur himself was a Talmud. He was a disciple of the Mayor of Rothenburg, who was one of the, I guess you could say, heavy hitters, Halacha, I guess you would say. Let's take a look in the Tur. And I split it into the 2 columns. So starting on the right. Sound familiar? Yeah, of course it sounds familiar. It's a direct quote from the Rambam. The punishment for not using just measures, or rather for using false measures, is greater than the punishment for harayos, the licentious sexual behavior. Because one, the midos is beinoy vein other way around. Did he switch it? No, it's the same thing. And anyone who denies the mitzvah of mitzvahs, he's denying the entire Exodus, which is the beginning of all the mitzvahs. And conversely, again, straight from the Rambam, anyone who accepts the commandment to use just proper measures, that's what causes life. If we didn't leave Egypt, we wouldn't have any of the mitzvahs. That's the tour. Says the Beis Yosef on the tour, so he quotes the Magid Mishnah, one of the commentaries on the Rambam, because of Rabbi Magid. The is of the Sefer. It says in Sefer and Kedoshim. That it says over there that one who doesn't, that one who uses a midah chasera, that's something that's lacking. So it seems as if the person's getting less. So you weigh them out more, you charge them more. Right? However it works exactly. Meaning using incorrect, inaccurate weights in their business dealings. This is ko'ever avera baseser. It's like you're doing something private. Nobody sees you. Nobody can tell. They come to your store. You have some weights. This weight looks like a weight. Everything looks good. It's over avera b'seiser, private. Shedoichik ragli hashchina, that pushes away the shchina. Such an action.
So why is it rather than makom? No.
That's a good question. Well, what do you think the answer is?
You're still cheating the person.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're taking money from the other person. That's right. He doesn't know. That's the problem. If he knew, he would stop patronizing your store. Right? What is he saying over here? Says the Beis Yosef. Shehu koifer b'hashgoch. What does it mean that we're connecting this to Yitzis Mitzrayim and saying that it's koifer avera b'seisur, like doing an avera in private? He says a person is koifer b'hashgocha, is denying Hashem's providence. V'soiver she kol b'galgal yareach v'liber tzadikres al tzad what does it say? Can you read that? Hashayla hadoim ragli. That the person is if to say that Hashem's hashgacha, his providence, only extends to a certain point. It's up in the heavens, it's in the stars, it's in the orbit, it's whatever it might be. Like it says, hadoim ragli. We had the Haftarah was all right, Shabbos Chodesh. Hashamayim kisi v'haaretz hadoim ragli. We learned once also Maimon Torah about this. So the person who denies this mitzvah of just measures, it's compared in the Rambam to denying the Exodus. What's the connection to the Exodus? He says, what was the Exodus? What happened? It's there were these novel miracles, wonders. And those miracles indicate, they show Hashem's chidush, that Hashem is constantly in charge. He makes a chidush the whole creation. And further, ve'ala hashgacha, and the fact that not just did he create once, but and not just is he watching over at one point in time, like the watchmaker who made a watch and set it in motion, but even more so, there's a hashgacha. He's involved. He's engaged with it. There's providence. And through this, we have mitzvahs. Specifically, as Hashem is in charge, he's watching. And the negative prohibitions as well. If it wasn't for the exodus from Egypt, all the mitzvahs would be bottled, the mitzvahs would be gone. And that's what the Rambam is saying, says the Beis Yosef. It's actually quoting the Magid Mishnah, I'm sorry. That it's what causes all the commandments. The very act of Exodus will cause all the commandments. So if you deny the midos, if you deny the mitzvah to use just measures, just weights, what are you doing? You're denying the whole thing. Because you're denying the Exodus, because the Exodus is what started it all. So if you deny this mitzvah, you're denying the Exodus.
Are there other cases where it brings up mitzvos or averos that compare it to the same thing?
Yes, there are actually. There are actually, I left it out because
I just want to know. If
I
this
don't
is
know- I don't know if-
Special.
I don't know if I can even handle what we're doing tonight. Yes, Ribis, interest, mentions Tzitz Mitzrayim. Tzitzis mentions Tzitz Mitzrayim. What else? Shrotzim, not to eat creepy crawly reptiles. Let's take a look at source number 5, the Smeh. The Sefer Meiras Einayim. We had him last week for the first time, and he liked it so much he came back. The Smeh. He lived in Poland in the second half of the 1500s and passed away in the year 1614. He was a student of the Ramah of Moshe Isserles, as well as a student of the Marshal, with Shlomo Luria. He writes as follows: because why is the person who denies using, but doesn't use the midos, the proper measures, why is he considered denying the Exodus? Says the Smeh, mipnei techol ha'aves b'midos, anyone who corrupts their weights, who mastered daikar, he's hiding. He doesn't. That's the whole way he does it, right? If you know the person's using false weights, you're not going to buy by him. The whole thing is he's hiding. Shemaster daikar shalei yabito boy bnei adam. Nobody should see what I'm doing. I'm not afraid of Hashem. I'm afraid of you, says the guy. I'm afraid of you. I'm afraid that you're going to discover my false midos. So I do it quietly. Hashem? I'm not afraid of Hashem. Whatever. Hashem knows everything, right? Okay, whatever. No big deal. That's what the person. That's what the Smeh is saying. From Hashem, he's not afraid. Because he thinks actually the Smeh spells out more what we had in source number 4 in Beis Yosef from the Maggid Mishnah. Hashem's watching? No, he's not watching. From you, I need to be afraid. Because if I rip you off, you're going to come back and punch me in the face and take your money back. From Hashem? He's not involved. And if you deny Hashem's hashgacha, meaning you're effectively saying, Hashem's not watching me, I can do whatever I want. Good, so then you're denying the Exodus from Egypt. How so? Because in Egypt it became clear, it was clarified to all the greatness of Hashem's hashgacha, of his providence. Hashem was revealed to us in all the miracles. Right? Hashem reveals himself to the Jewish people in Egypt and redeems us. Yes, that makes sense? That's why it's connected to Tzitz Mitzrayim.
So he makes sense, but there are other averas that also, they're saying, I'm afraid of people, but not Hashem, but not all of them would connect to Tzitz Mitzrayim, like the idea of the Ganav and the Gazlan,
right?
One that steals at night, right? You're doing it because you're afraid, you want people to be sleeping or not this, right? But they're not comparing that to...
Right. That's right. That's right. Which halacha is in source number 2, where the Rambam writes about the midos? Which halacha is it? It's Geneva or Hilchos Gezeiva? Hilchos Geneva. What's Hilchos Geneva? The Rambam says, chapter 1, verse 3, Ezehu ganef. Who is a thief? What's a ganef? Zel lokech mamon adam baseiser. Exactly the same thing. Ve'ena ba'alim yodim. A person who takes assets belonging to a colleague in stealth, like a stealth bomber, without the owner's knowing, such as a pickpocket who was not detected by the owner. That's a ganef. Meaning, I'm afraid of you. A ganef is afraid of you. So he's going to come in at night when no one's looking. Hashem? Not afraid of Hashem.
Yeah,
So-
Hashem for help.
Right. Right. Daven Hashem said it right.
Make me successful in my endeavor tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Smeh here says the Sefer Meiras Einayim. His is the commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, Choshen Mishpat, not on the Torah, but on the Shulchan Aruch. And he says that in Egypt we saw Hashem's great miracles. He saw him working wonders, working miracles. And if I act in a way that opposes that demonstration of Hashem's hashgacha, how? By saying effectively, Hashem's not watching me. And the proof is, I'll rip you off in a secret way, you won't even notice it. So therefore, you are, by using inappropriate measures, you are denying Yitzis Mitzrayim. That's the Smeh. Good. Now, the Smeh wrote other Sfarim too. We actually mentioned last week he wrote a ton of Sfarim. He wrote Kedoshim on like 14 Masechtas of Shas, and I forget exactly what else. A whole bunch of other Sfarim, they were burned in a fire. But he also wrote 2 commentaries on the Torah, the Prisha and the Drisha. So now we're going back in time. Same author, but instead of being on the Shulchan Aruch, it's on the Torah. Source number 6, the Prisha. At the end of the line, we still have to understand why did the Rambam, in his precision, right at the beginning of the halacha, he's like someone, not kofer, like someone who denies the Exodus. And in the end he says he's moida, he acknowledges. That's one question. Void, another question, the Bereisha kosav, shitchilas. In the beginning, he writes, it's the beginning of the mitzvahs. But Sefer, in the end, he says, she groma. It's causing. Beginning, causing. Different words. Why did he select different words? So the Prisha says, we can explain as follows. Even though, as he himself, the Prisha himself in the Sman, source number 5, same person, different book, right? As he himself explains that Yitzis Mitzrayim, the Exodus, and the midos are the same inyan. They're the inyan of Hashem's hashgacha, or the person seeming to be saying lack thereof. I don't believe Hashem's hashgacha. Mikol mokim efshar the afa kaifer b'mitzvahs midos moed b'sitzis Mitzrayim. Could be, says the priest. You know what? Even someone who would not use the proper midos, he wouldn't agree with that mitzvah. It could be moed b'sitzis Mitzrayim. It might be he does agree with the exit of Egypt. After all, he continues to be Hashem. He might say, big things, Hashem is mashgiach. In the big stuff, he's mashgiach. But what color shirt I wear? He doesn't care. He cares about big things. Right? Small little details. Who knows? Hashem doesn't care about that. But that's why it says kid koifer b'tzis Mitzrayim. It's like you're denying the Exodus of Egypt, because maybe you don't really deny the Exodus of Egypt just because you used the false weight. You thought it was a small thing. I ripped you off. Guys, I stole you a couple bucks. You don't even know the difference. Come on, you're a rich guy anyway. What's the difference, right? That person not necessarily to deny the Exodus of Egypt. The big stuff Hashem watches. The small, the kleinigkeit. That's the Prisha. That's why it says kikoifer. It's as if. Does it make sense so far? It's as if he denies. Now, and the flip side, aval. At the end of the halacha, when he says, Chol hamakabel all of mitzvahs midos, if you do accept the midos, hariz a moida, then you acknowledge this is Mitzrayim. So the Prisha says, Aval vaday hamoida b'mitzvahs midos, for sure, if you accept the kleinigkeiten, if you accept that Hashem is mashgiach on the small, tiny details, then kol shekein the moida b'mitzvahs Mitzrayim, for sure you accept the Exodus. That's a big thing. So even though the Prisha is not explaining the diuk in the Rambam, so why does the Rambam say that if you deny midos, it's as if you're kofer into this Mitzrayim? Because even if you're not actually kofer into this Mitzrayim, the big stuff Hashem's in charge. The little stuff is not in charge. That's what you might say. Nevertheless, afilu hachi chashvinu like kofer into this Mitzrayim. We consider it as if you denied the Exodus, even if you don't. It's considered as if you denied the Exodus. That's how serious this prohibition of inappropriate measures is. Why? Because the beginning of all the mitzvahs. All the mitzvahs that we have from Hashem are all extensions and branches from Mitzvos Mitzrayim. If that's the case, then if you deny the midos, then you're denying the Exodus. Why? Because it extends and it branches out from Mitzvos Mitzrayim. What about all the other mitzvahs? Doesn't every mitzvah come from that?
Isn't it maybe because the Egyptians were doing exactly this avera to us by not paying us, by being slaves? We were being cheated out of what we deserved.
That's very interesting. The Smed doesn't say that. The Prisha doesn't say
That's my
that.
thought.
But there are
Yeah.
also other averas too they were doing, no?
Because they were doing that to us, and then Hashem punished them. So if we deny,
Mida connected media.
yeah, so if we do the same thing, we're denying what Hashem did in Egypt.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's true what you're saying. It could be, but there were many other affairs they were doing also. Okay. Yeah, does the Prisha make sense? Okay, like I said, maybe I get off more than the computer. Let's try. Baba Kama. Take a look at the Gemora. Oh boy, here we go. Shalu on the third last word on the first line. Shalu Talmid of Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai. The Talmid of Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai asked him the following question. Back to the thing Shalom is mentioning, the difference between a Ganav and a Gazlan. Why is the Torah more strict with a Ganif? They translated in English here as a thief, who we saw in the Rambam, chapter 1. That's someone who steals secretly like a pickpocket. Why is the Torah stricter with a ganif even more than a gazlan, a robber, as it says in this is the Koran translation? Only a thief, a ganif, is required to pay kefil double or 4 or 5 times, depending on what was stolen, but not a gazlan. The gazlan doesn't have to pay those punishments. He just has to pay back what he stole. Steals $100, give back $100. A ganif steals 100, have to give 200. There's a knas, a punishment. So why? Both stole. Why are they treated differently? 2 robbers treated differently, or a thief and a robber. Omer Lahen. So Yochanan Zakkai responds to his Talmidim, and he says as follows: Zeh, this one that is the Gazlan, Hishva Kovoid Eved L'chvoid Koined. He equates Hishva. He equals the honor of the servant to the honor of the master. The servant is the person he steals from. The master is Hashem. V'zen, this one, that is the ganif, the thief, lo yishva kavod eved l'chvoid koined, does not equate the honor of the servant to the honor of his master. Meaning, as the Koran explains here, the robber that is the gazlan, I keep confusing robber and thief, the gazlan, who steals in broad daylight, he doesn't sneak under the table or doesn't pickpocket. The gazlan fears neither Hashem nor people. So he's equal opportunities. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of your father. I'm not afraid of nobody. That's the gazlan. He's not afraid to rob in public. The ganif, however, doesn't fear Hashem, but he does fear people. He's afraid of people, which demonstrates that he's more concerned about what human beings think about him, basically. More concerned of humans than Hashem himself. So the gazlan at least says, I don't care about nobody. I don't care about anybody. The Ganav says, Hashem, I'm not worried about Hashem. It's you I'm worried about. So that's worse. That's worse. Therefore, he has a knas. He's more of a punishment.
Why is it worse?
Why is it worse?
Yeah. I think a person who doesn't care about people, who would you rather be sitting next to? A guy who doesn't want to hurt anybody, just wants to steal some money, he's greedy or lazy to work, or a guy that doesn't care about you, he'll take your life like that just for money.
But I think
The one guy's a worse guy, a worse criminal, no?
the one that equates them both the same, doesn't care about anything, is equal, just doesn't even think like it doesn't matter anything.
But from personal,
If
you're
you're
afraid
more
of
dangerous.
no, but
if you-
to me as a person, I might be more
No, you don't
scared of the robber, because the robber is gonna pull up a gun or a knife and say, "Give me all your money,"
Right.
whereas the thief is gonna come quietly at night and steal my sheep or something.
Right.
But from Hashem's perspective,
Right.
it's like we're supposed to have Yirat Shamayim. We're supposed to be in awe and fearful
Yeah.
of Hashem. And the fact that this guy's, I'm scared of
He's not
scared of
making-
Toporowski, but I'm not scared of Kadosh Baruch.
Right, he's not. It's not that he's
It's a-
not. So at least the other guy is scared of the people, but he's not scared of Hashem. So it's like, right? So it's a little wrong. But if you're not scared of people, you're not scared of Hashem. You're just not scared of anybody. Then it's nothing against God personally. He's not being like I'm not scared because it's you or because it's you. It's just he just doesn't care.
Look at the continuation of the Gemara. Maybe it's going to answer your question, maybe. Kivyochol, so to speak, or they translate here as it were, osa ayin shel mata ki'ilu ein roya ki'ilu ein roya ve'oizen shel mata ki'ilu ein shemas. The thief, that is the ganef, establishes the eye below, that is Hashem's eye, as though it doesn't see, and the ear below Hashem's, as though it does not hear. So he's in a sense.
Was that both of them?
No, the other one he probably doesn't. Whether he knows he sees or not, it doesn't
care.
seem like he cares. The second one is he's differentiating. So
The
clearly
Ganef
he
is
knows.
effectively saying, the Ganef is effectively saying, I can steal and ain't nothing gonna happen to me. As long as I hide from you, I got nothing to worry about. That's the Ganef. So in a sense, he's saying Hashem's not watching. Hashem can't watch me, he can't find me, he can't see me, he can't do anything about it. So who do I need to bavor and who do I need to anticipate? Maybe he's gonna catch me in the middle of the night. You. Maybe you'll catch me in the middle of the night. You I'm afraid of. You I don't want to fight, I don't want to get involved. So Kivyochel, the Gemara says, is so to speak, the Ganef acts in such a way that there's only one person to be worried about. As the person himself. God, I got nothing to worry about. God doesn't see me anyway. Whereas the Gazlan says, Hashem sees me, you see me, and I don't care about either of you.
Right.
But he's ignored, Hashem's watching me, so what? No?
So the Ganef diminishes
Vision.
Hashem.
No?
I mean, I understand the point, but I'm saying like is
You're asking deeper.
You're asking from
I don't
from
know
the
if it's
human's
deeper.
perspective, would you be more scared of the person that doesn't fear anybody?
Well, 1 second. The Gemara is not asking who should we be more afraid of.
Right.
The Gemara is asking, why is the Torah issuing a stricter punishment for one person over another, even though
I mean they
do
both
the
don't
same
fear
thing?
God. But one of them at least has respect for other human beings to some extent.
No, it's
No.
the Gemara is saying the opposite, I think.
Yeah.
One of them doesn't believe in God, but only fears man. That's the Ganef. The Gazlan believes in God and believes in man. He just ain't afraid.
But why are you saying he's not afraid? He's
Because he
afraid-
goes in broad daylight and romps.
No, he doesn't want to get caught by the cops. I mean,
Well,
he
if-
just does.
Doesn't
He
make a
just,
difference.
If he is afraid, if he isn't afraid, I think the point is that it's
it's not like
like
an anarchist, like just a
no,
psychopath.
but I think the point is that like the robber doesn't try to hide from anything. He's like, okay, here I am. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. You can see me. God can see me. I don't really care. I'm just gonna do it anyway.
Right.
But the thief, the thief says the same thing, but then he tries to hide from you. He doesn't care that God is watching.
One guy is like, I'm bad, and I know I'm bad. Like, he's honest about it.
Yeah, right.
One guy
exactly, yeah.
is trying to get away with, like, trying to.
Right, one guy's honest
also,
about it,
one
and
guy
one guy's
is-
trying to hide from you,
Right.
but he doesn't care about hiding from God.
Right, which shows that he doesn't care about God.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's, I think, what the Gemara is saying. The thief establishes the eye below Hashem's eye as though he doesn't see. Can't see me. That's why he sees. Yeah. Okay. I was going to say I'm just going to repeat what I said before. I'm not going to add. Nothing to add. Nothing to add. So
No, I get it, I
hold
get it.
back. Okay, we'll come back to this, God. There's obviously lots to talk about. Let's take a look now. Sefer HaChinuch. Yes, I think we once had him in a share once or something. That was the catalyst to get it for the
Oh
library.
yeah, maybe, yeah.
I don't remember what it was. Someone came knocking on my door the other day. Excuse me, can I borrow your Sefer HaChinuch? Okay. Sefer HaChinuch is one of few famous anonymous works in Yiddishkeit. It's anonymous. Some scholars think it's this person, that person. I'm not exactly sure. What I believe they do know is that it's a medieval work, 13th century Spain. I believe that's pretty much all they know for sure. 13th century. But how do they know that? I'm not exactly sure. The Chinuch goes through all the mitzvahs. Is one of the Minhas mitzvahs. Interestingly, the Minchas Chinuch, we have here on the table, we're going to have on the source sheet later as well, in source number 13, even though we do know who the author was, it was also published anonymously at first. Some interesting note. The anonymous commentary on the anonymous book. But the Sefer Chinuch, despite being anonymous, it's I guess it speaks for itself, I guess. Classic Sefer. So in discussing this mitzvah, He says as follows: Visartanu v'hizhira. What does it say? Okay. V'hiziranu hatayra b'chol echad ve'echad midvorim elu. The Torah is cautioning us. Let's take a look at it. Let's see how Art Scroll does in translation. The Torah cautioned us against fraud with regard to each and every one of these items specifically. That's bamida, bamishkal, uvamesura. The pasuk talks about scale. They translate here scales, weights, and measures. 3 separate types of weights. Why? The severity of the matter. You're going to say, why is it even a separate mitzvah at all? This all falls under the general mitzvah of not defrauding another person. Even though the use of all inaccurate scales and measures to defraud anybody is included in a separate mitzvah, or a separate prohibition rather, is included in the prohibition against defrauding one's fellow, which is commanded through the verse elsewhere in Vayikra, each of you shall not aggrieve his fellow. So, Lashon Sifra, I quoted here on the page also. The Sifra says, I, Hashem, brought you forth a land of Israel on this condition, that you accept upon yourself the mitzvah of correct measures. There's another piece in the Chinuch here, but I didn't put it on the sheet. So, what am I trying to say right now?
The fact that it's separated and shows the severity if you violate.
So this shows the severity, yeah. I feel like I had a different point I wanted to make also. I don't remember. I think I had some other point I wanted to say about the Chinuch. I don't remember. Okay, let's go weiter in the Gemora in Bava Metzia. Omer later of Yemar later of Ashi. Lav the cause of Rachmana b'mishkolos lamali. The negative prohibition that the Torah writes about mishkolos, about the weights, lamali. What is it coming to teach me? So Omer later, so Rav Yemar responds to Rav Ashi. I'm sorry, Rav Ashi responds to Rav Yemar, right? The Taimin mishkolos of b'melach, to one who basically puts salt in. Into the, just to throw them off ever so slightly, but a little bit of salt I'll add to the weight, and they won't even see it, and it looks like it's not even there almost. So it says the Gemora, Hainu gezam aliyuhu. That's takas fever. That's takas stealing. Ma'aliyah. It's a gishmaka stealing. It's a high level. You're mamash ripping the person off. So the answer, lavar love mishas asiya. Oh, wow. The Gemara is saying that the prohibition of mishkolos, of false weights, is not necessarily exclusively if you actually use them to rip someone off. Laver alav mishas asiya. As soon as you make the weight, the false, and you didn't even use it, you made it, you transgressed already. Looking Rashi on the left, Mishas Asiya, Mishas Hatmona. He says when you put it away, when you hide it. Vafilu loy shakal bahem. Even if you never used it to actually weigh out falsely, you just have it in your home. That's an avera. Rambam, source number 10. It's the same chapter as before, chapter 8. I'm sorry, chapter 7, Hilchos Geneva, but earlier in the first Rambam we quoted was the last Halacha, Halacha Yud Beis, Halacha Gimel. Kol mi shamasha bebeis oy b'chanus oy mida chaseir oy mida oy mishkol chosed. Anyone who holds in their home masheh, you keep it there, an inaccurate measure, oy v'beloy saseh, you transgress, you did an avera just by having it. Shenemar lo yeh lecha b'chizka. That's not from our parsha. That's from Parshas Kedoshim. shouldn't have. You should not own. Lo yihiyeh lecha bekischa. You should not even have in your pocket such a thing. Meaning, if you don't use it. Now, interestingly, here the Rambam goes a little bit. We're going to see a little bit later. Also, even to use a bedpan and to turn that into an incorrect weight, even that is awesome. You're not allowed to do that either. Although the Rashbam and the Gemora seems to indicate that that's an Isser D'Rabbanan. I'm going to tell you, by the way. Even though normally, who uses a bedpan for you? You don't use it, right? You're not going to use that to weigh out. It's because it's gross. Yeah, but Shema Yova Mishena Yudea Shichasera V'Yimdadba. Maybe someone's going to come along and use it, not knowing that it's inaccurate. But the ain't looking at lav zesha the ain't ma'isa. But you don't get a malchus for this lav of the incorrect measures because you didn't do anything. Even though you did, you made it, but you didn't use it. Shulchan Aruch. The Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch and Choshen Mishpat, Hilchos Midos u'Mishkolos, Kol Misha Masha Beis. We have the fancy translation of this new version of the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. That's what we want. Kol Misha Masha Beis Bechanusa Midol Chasero Midol Chaser. Straight from the Rambam, right? Whoever keeps an inaccurate measure of weight in his home violates a negative commandment. Oiver b'loy sasi shenemar lo yelach b'chizcha involving gedolok tana. You shall not have in your pouch 2 sets of weights, one large and one small, nor shall you have in your home 2 sets of measures, one large and one small. It is even forbidden to use an inaccurate measure as a chamber pot. Also, not allowed. Why? Lest one who does not know that it is inaccurate come and use it for measurement. Okay, we don't have to read the next part of it for now. So we see it's not even necessarily about actually stealing from someone. Which is, Stam is interesting that in the Rambam, where's this halacha? In the Rambam, it's in Hilchos Gneva. But in the Shulchan Aruch, it's in Hilchos Oinoa u'Mekach Paus. Let me just make sure about that. Yeah, in the laws of deception, not in the laws of thievery. Not to deceive someone. So it's not called the Hilchos Geneva. It's not an interesting.
Isn't it both?
It's not necessarily about actually stealing.
It's a double affair.
Well, what?
It's a double affair. You're deceiving when you steal.
Oh, so some actually say that. Some, I think, the Minchas Chinuch has a whole long thing. He actually says there's 2 things going on. One is making it. That's a deceptive act already. Once you made it, there's a certain element of deception. We're going to see that soon. And the second thing is actually using it to rip someone off. So it might be that it's 2 different things. Okay, let's go to this page number 3. The Rabbeinu Bechaye on the Parsha. He was a student of the Rashba. He lived in Spain, 1255 to 1340. Huh? Yeah. A student of the he's buried in Eretz Yisrael near Chavakuk, if you know where that is. He says as follows. Listen to this. Just as a person will be punished for a machshava ra'ah, a bad thought. You're going to say, I thought we don't get punished for thoughts. Even if you didn't even do it, you didn't even act on it. By the way, the Gemora says that just ran away from me. The Gemara says that a machshava of an avera is worse than the avera itself. I'm forgetting the lashon right now. A thought of an avera is worse than the avera itself. Now, I think it's either the Rashi or the Marsha, maybe over there, say because it leads you. Because when you think about how do you do an avera, first you think about it, then you do it. So it leads you to do it. but there's a certain element, a thought of an avera in a certain way, even al pi halacha, is in a certain way worse.
That's what the Parshas says, right? Because that's where you are.
Oh,
You are where
al pi pnimis for sure it's worse. Al pi pnimis it's
Like
worse.
where
The
you're found.
Parshas says, and also that al pi pnimis also, those who learned a little bit of Tanya, there's 3 garments: machshava, dibur, and ma'aseh, thought, speech, and action. And dibur and ma'aseh are called levush hanifrad, a separate garment, right? That's why speaking you could stop speaking, acting you could stop action. But thought, it's called a levush hamiyuchad. Thought is a garment that's united with your nefesh. That's why you can't stop thinking. You can only think about something else. So therefore, since this is not a halacha, it's not pnimis. Since machshava is more closely connected to your neshama, therefore a pagam, a blemish in machshava, is more damaging to the neshama than a pagam, than a blemish in action. Also connecting to what we said before about the difference between avera, between ben adam l'makam and ben adam l'chaverai. The person does an avera, God forbid, you did an avera. Good, so you know you did it. Good, now go do tshuva. Okay, ben adam l'makam, ben adam l'chaverai, but at least you know what you did. You know it's an avera. But thought, like the Rambam brings about looking at inappropriate things. The Rambam writes that it's very difficult to do tshuva for looking at the wrong things. Why is it so difficult? Because the person says, the Rambam spells it out. The Rambam writes, V'chi karavti, I came close to her, I touched her, I didn't do anything. Okay, I looked. No. That's what the Rambam says. So you think you didn't even do an avera. So for sure, how do you get into tshuva if you don't think you even did anything wrong? You ever meet the person who you're like, what are you talking about? I didn't do anything wrong. Oh man, you don't even know you did something wrong? I can't talk to you if you don't even know you did something wrong. How are you going to fix it? Okay, maybe. Anyway, back to the Rabbeinu Bechaye, or Bechaye, how do we pronounce his name? Just like a person is punished for a bad thought, even though he didn't actually act on it. So too the person is punished for making false midos, false measures. And even though he didn't use them and he didn't deceive anybody using them. Like the Gemora said, he transgresses as soon as he makes them. Like Chazal say, as soon as you make it, you're cursed. So there's an Indian that there's a I think I missed something I wanted to quote here in the bathroom. I feel like I might have missed part of what I was trying to get here. The Rabbeinu Bechaye is saying there's an element of it's about you. It's not even so much about the other person. It's about you and what's going on internally within yourself. You having a machshava ra that's internal doesn't affect anybody else. Yeah, but how does it affect you? What kind of person does it make you? So the creation, if a person manufactures a false midah, forget about if he uses it or not. As soon as he makes it, it already affected him. Because now he's the person who is deceptive. He's a person with bad midos, pun intended. Let's take a look at Minchas Chinuch, source number 13. As I mentioned, he was originally published anonymously. Here we have this nice Minchas Chinuch over here now. 19th century, 1801 to 1874. Actually, he has a descendant. I don't know if it's a grandson, great-grandson. It should probably be great or great-great-grandson with the same name, named after him, Yosef Babad, who was a Rosh Yeshiva in the Skokie Yeshiva. He passed away in 1997. Anyway, Yosef Babad, 1800s, was in Poland. He studied under the Tzanzer Rav, Bechaye Halberstam. I think he was married 3 times. I think his first 2 wives passed away. I think, something like that. Anyway. Says the Minchas Chinuch, "Ve'emes la'anias daiti." Really, if you want to ask me, really, he says, if I want to get down to it, hu davar chodesh litin tam lemitzvos hatayra. This is a naya zach. It's a new thing. You want to give mitzvahs. You want to give reasons to the mitzvahs. Umi yedea. Who knows? Who knows what the reasons are? After the chutz masha oisa shishik al chaser. Maybe aside from the fact that you actually maybe did use the weights inappropriately and steal from someone. Shoisa sheshikel chaser, chaser oid ala asiya, oya shehia, oisa yoisera. Maybe that actually just owning them is even worse. We don't know exactly the reasons. So we might think it's logical to say, why can't you have inaccurate measures because you'll rob from someone. Says the Minchas Chinuch, maybe not. Maybe the real problem, maybe it's even worse to even own it. The time you do it, maybe we don't know the reason. Ki mi omad b'seid Hashem. Who can know the secrets of Hashem? Says I vin ki mavor b'shas the bava basra the also lasos. It says in the Gemora, you're not allowed to make it, not allowed to make them. Why? Shema yishkol behem. Because maybe you'll use it. Why can't you make it? Maybe you'll use it. The Gemara says. So said the Minchas Chinuch, no, you didn't understand the pshat in the Gemara. Omer Rashbam. The Mayri, the Shoya, Shaloi Lishkol Behem. That the Gemara is talking about if you keep them and you don't even plan on using them. Still an affair. Okay. So we see there's an element here that even without using it, there's something about making it and bringing it, just having it in your home. Let's take a look. We'll conclude with, we don't have much time left, but we'll try to read the next passage from the Sicha from the Rebbe on the Parsha. On source number 14, on the bottom right, it says V'yesh Leimer. V'yesh Leimer, as their Tama Dover is nit nor val von der Metzius von der Mida Chaseda Beis ken arois kumen amichshol. The reason is not just because if you own it, maybe you'll use it, right? Like the alcoholic shouldn't own a bottle of alcohol. I'm not going to drink it. Yeah, you are. If it's in the shelf, we're going to drink it. So maybe the reason we shouldn't own the mishkal, the false midos, is because I'll come to use it. Okay, fine. But in addition, it's not just that, says the Rebbe, which will lead to then the other person now is out money. Nor rather, the is an isur chomor. The very ownership is already a very, very severe thing that the person, just to own it. Forget about stealing, forget about ripping someone off. Just owning it is an isur chomor, a very severe prohibition. Why? The explanation is the difference between midas and mishkalos is false weights and other types of stealing or deception, or as follows. By other types of stealing, robbery, thievery, or other types of deception, is beim ganef ram bloizein rotzen. The ganef has one thing on his mind and one thing only, which is to get more money, right? He's doing an action. He's doing something that's going to take your money. That's it. He's single-minded. I want your money, whether it's a pickpocket, whether it's an armed robber, whether it's some other type of deception. I'm trying to get your cash. That's not me. No, I said I'm not trying to do it. Yeah. But using a false weight is not like that. It's deception is not the word. Rather, listen to this. When a ganav comes to steal, he's got one thing in his mind: take your money. The false weight is actually two things. Two things going on simultaneously, and there are two opposites. Number one, the etzem zach, was is moide de v'shekel chaveder, is an oistuk von a hanhoga shal rechnen sich mit chaveder. You come to my store, what do? Oh, yeah, let me measure that out for you. Let me weigh that out for you. Because I'm an honest guy. Let me weigh it out for you. So on the one hand, I'm doing an action which expresses that I'm fair. You brought a bundle of apples, and I'm going to weigh it, and then I'm going to tell you how much it costs. So I'm showing you I'm being fair. That's on the one hand. I'm doing something which within that action demonstrates that I'm not trying to rip you off. On the contrary, I'm trying to be fair with you. That's why I want to weigh it out. Got to be fair to everybody. But on the other hand, simultaneously, what kind of meat am I using? An inaccurate one. So you see, I'm doing two things that are opposite at the same time. If it makes sense? As the zelbe peulas amedida zal brengen geneves mamel chaveirai. The very same, you hear the chap? The very same thing that you're doing that demonstrates how honest and straight you are is what's ripping the guy off. Hey, let me weigh it out for you. Mida chasera, with my inaccurate weight. So there's two opposite things that the person is doing simultaneously. Und der fun asur teira the etzem masiyah v'shiyah von mida chasera. And that's why the Torah says you can't even own it. Forget about using it. You can't even own it. Why? Not because of the other guy, because of you. Hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy at the utmost. Yeah. Even if you're never going to use it, and no one will lose money as a result, it doesn't matter. Right? Weil der Teuchen von Mitzvos Midos is zu scheulo sein oti an mumias in dem Odem klappe sich. The purpose, and he quotes here that have been a Bechaye in source number 12, but I think I missed out the main piece. Okay. Because the purpose, the inner content and meaning of the mitzvah of Midos is to negate any type of deceptiveness to yourself. Don't act in a deceptive manner. Not because of someone else, because of you.
That's also why they say, right, that the pig is like the epitome of not kosher, because it puts the split hooves there.
Pretending is something he's not.
Yeah.
Similar thing. That's what in the Odem klappe sich, regard to himself. Don't be deceptive to yourself. Yeah, that makes sense. So that's the whole mitzvah. The whole mitzvah is not to deceive yourself, not to become a deceptive person. Now, what does this represent in Avodas Hashem? We have just a minute or two. Page 4. This is from the same Sicha in the Rebbe, just a couple of pages later, where the test is on the right column, the hasbar and them. The explanation is, this is going to be the part of the lesson here. Jewish people, we are the children of Hashem. How is it possible that the Yetzer Hara could possibly convince me to sin? What are you going to walk up to me? Hey, go eat treif. Like, what? What are you talking about? Eat treif? What? But I'm a Yid. I don't do that. Right? So the Yetzer Hara has a strategy. Is there an for them? Ovin mishkolis. The answer is the mitzvah in this week's parsha, the inaccurate measures. Meaning, that the Yetzer Hara kommt nicht melchatchila zu Yidden, as is omedet in Bechaye. The Yetzer Hara doesn't approach you telling you that you should do a sin. Because again, I'm too smart for that. I don't fall for your tricks. Nor rather, today he says, no, just do something a little. Don't do an aveira. Just have the wrong measure. But don't use it. Just don't use it. He tries to make a chisoron deficiency in your midah. Right? Is masking as men darf sich fühlen bechlolus mit der midah. It Hara says, don't be a deceptive guy. Use a midah, use a measure, use weights. Do things the right way, like the midas vagvolos from Shulchan Aruch. Follow Shulchan Aruch. Yeah. Of course, follow Shulchan Aruch. Tainet aber. What does he say? As es macht nit ois oib the midah soll sein a chasera. Just doesn't matter if you're missing a little bit, or you added a little bit of salt on it, whatever. Doesn't matter if it's not exactly accurate. But Fradim says below is a chasar kosher, just a tiny bit. That's not a big deal. Follow Shulchan Aruch, of course. Midos, you gotta have the right midos, but just a little bit. Noch more so. And as a film masking as there eats all hoben and even mishkol shlema vatzedek, he even says, you know what? Make sure to have correct weights in your house too. Correct weights. And tainet aber as in zu gov to their even shlema. Zoller haben noch an even nit kein shlema. Even veven efa vefa gedoylok tana. He just says that in addition to having accurate weights, you should also have an inaccurate weight. Just a little bit off. Tainet does by Yidden seine Faran zwei midos. The Yetzer Hara says to you, you've got two midos. Accurate ones and inaccurate ones. But when it comes to your neshama, the Yonam Ruchnim Shalom Adam is Dorten Taken get as the midos all sein bedil, like the midos vagabos from Shulchan Aruch. He says, oh, spiritually, yeah, follow Shulchan Aruch, of course. Gotta have the right midah, gotta do the right thing, follow Shulchan Aruch. However, b'shas aber is halzik wegen in Yonah Yaguf when it comes to material matters, the tzorchen gashmi Shalom Adam, the material needs of a person. Dorten megmen zu pasten die midah. As he soll sein behesem mit midos from Darchei Olam. That he says you should keep up with the Joneses. That you should follow what the lead of the world around you. That the Gemora says that first the Yetzer Hara says just do a little, eat your fish with the wrong fork, and before you know it, it comes in. It says bow down to an idol. When their father is often mishkolos farbunim mit vayamolek. That's why the Mishkolos is connected to Amalek. Val Tchilas be also Sheklipas Amalek is a Yidden, is nit a Tnua from Merida Gluya Neged Hashem, because Amalek doesn't begin by getting the Jew to rebel against Hashem, nor Vaser Varta Arain Sfeikos. The Amalek's job spiritually, he throws in doubts. Amalek b'gematria sofik. Skip the bracket. Und der sofik, der heder toikef emunah, when a person is lacking full emunah, durch alle Tellen von Menschen beschaffen, which takes over the person in every fiber of their being, is Reishis Goyim, der Shorish Vaschol von allen Yonim Minayim. That's the beginning of the downfall of everything. Und der Rieber durch dem, was Mizor Midos Mishkolis, when a person is cautious about Midos Mishkolos, which even if we don't have a store, we can do that spiritually speaking, and know that there's only one Midah, and that is the accurate one, that is the true one, that is what Shulchan Aruch says, that is what Hashem says, that's what the Torah says. There's no other Midah. My spiritual, material, we don't compartmentalize. My spiritual life, my material life has one midah and one midah only. And that is, of course, the true midah of Torah. Then then it brings us to fulfill the whole Torah. Rambam, as the Rambam said that we began with, said, and it causes all the other mitzvahs. So that is the wrap up. So we have this mitzvah that the content, the main nekuda of the mitzvah is about not deceiving yourself effectively, not allowing yourself to act in a deceptive way. Forget about if you actually rip someone off or not. That's a separate issue. Like Patrick said, maybe that's a separate affair. Maybe. For sure it is, by the way. Of course, this actually still is a separate thing. But just having it in your home, which, just to add one more sentence before we're down Meiras, is that we can ask ourselves, I think, in addition to what we're saying here, what do I allow into my home? What do I let in my home? Certain things, but I'm not harming anybody with it. Well, the Torah says is the false weights, not even allowed to own. Don't bring it in your house. And I think so too, we have to be careful what we bring in our house, whether it's through our computers or actually bring it in. What do we allow into the house? I think we could add maybe that the Rebbe doesn't say that in the Farbrengen, but I think that maybe we could add that. Anyway, thank you everyone for coming to lift weights with me tonight, or I should say not lift weights. And